Welcome to Women of Resistance. Having lost 3 of her brothers to the ongoing genocide in Gaza, Warda Salah Al-Ruqeb has lost faith in the world's ability to stop the massacres. The only hope and faith she has is in her Lord, a faith so strong that she says whatever His will is, they only hold on to Him and no one else. Here is her story.
All hail the martyrs of Gaza, the fallen in their tens of thousands, those valiant souls who perished under the nearly 2 years of unrelenting Israeli genocide. Such is the scale of the devastation, we often fail to tell the stories of those they've left behind, those loved ones who weep for their passing and who must now live in a terrifying new reality.
حرب الغاشمة حرمتني من 3 من إخواتي. إحنا هلقيت عايشين حياة ظالمة. أنا اسمي وردة صلاح الرقب، عمري 31 سنة. ولدت في مدينة خان يونس، مواليد 94. والد كان بيشتغل شغل حر، عنده مصنع حديد مستخدم للبيع.
Sure, life for Palestinians inside Gaza before the genocide was already tough. But through family, education and hope, resilient Palestinians somehow found a way. Those flashbacks are now further memorialized in light of current circumstances.
ذكرياتي السعيدة كنت أنا وأهلي مجتمعين مع بعض وكانت حياتنا بتجنن. كان إخواتي عبارة عن 5 إخوات من أمي، وكنت أنا الصغيرة في البنات، 4 بنات، وكنت أنا الصغيرة في البنات. كنا الحمد لله دايماً يعني مبسوطين، نطلع مع بعض، نيجي مع بعض، نروح مع بعض في الأعياد، نجتمع مع بعض في المناسبات. والحرب الغاشمة حرمتني من 3 من إخواتي الشباب، والظروف اللي أجيت فيها كانت ظروف الحمد لله بالنسبة لأهلي ظروف حلوة، وكان الوضع المعيشي بالنسبة لأهلي كتير منيح وحلو.
The attempt at ethnic cleansing means the basic tools for survival are being systematically removed. The conditions under which Gazans are expected to live and, frankly, perish have not gone unnoticed by those bearing the heaviest burden. Warda understands that this is deliberate and this is unfair.
إحنا هلقيت عايشين حياة ظالمة. لا بناكل الأكل اللي بدنا إياه، لا بنلبس اللبس اللي بدنا إياه، بنطلع مشوار مش مساح لنا نطلع برا الخيمة، بنخوف إنه يصير حدث ورانا. أولادنا مش مبسوطين في هاي الحياة.
For Warda, education was always the backbone of the society. Knowledge was power, and passing that power to the next generation was vital.
درست في الكلية الجامعية للعلوم التطبيقية، دبلوم تخصص تعليم أساسي. وكانت أيام الجامعة ما بتتعوضش، يعني كنا نطلع وننزل ونشوف ناس ونتعرف على ناس جدد في حياتنا. كان التعليم بالنسبة مهم إنه كسلاح، وإنه نكون متعلمين ونعلم الأجيال اللي بدها تيجي، نعلم أولادنا وأولادنا يعلموا أولادهم، نطلع مجتمع متعلم.
As Warda explains, one of the most terrifying aspects of the new Nakba is not just the bombs and the bullets, it's the fear, the anxiety of not knowing what's next or when it might end, and an overwhelming sense that the world has abandoned them.
الإبادة الجماعية ما هي بتحصل إلا خوف في قلوبنا، بنضلنا متوترين وإحنا ما حدش سائل فينا، وحسبي الله ونعم الوكيل في كل حدا مسألة عن غزة. واليهود بيمارس الإبادة الجماعية صار عنده أمر عادي، ما يسألش علينا، يعني لما حدش مدور. لو حدا مدور كان الإبادة الجماعية من أول إبادة كانت الحرب انتهت، كان ما استمرتش ل2 سنين، ويا عالم قديش متى حتنتهي.
In spite of the current catastrophe, Warda carries on for the children, creating something from nothing and clinging to the prospect of experiencing a different tomorrow, one different to the pain of today.
أنا حياتي كنت عايشة في بيت كان كله أمل واستقرار. هلقيت بطل ما عادش في أمل في الحياة من يوم ما إجت الحرب، والحياة تغيرت 70 درجة. والحمد لله إحنا بنحاول نعيش ونتعايش مع هذه الحياة من أجل أولادنا وأطفالنا، إنه نحسسهم بالأمان رغم إنه ما فيش أمان، وإحنا عايشين عشان ومستمرين عشان الأطفال الصغار، علشان إنه نبين للعالم إنه إحنا قد الصعوبات اللي بنمارسها بحياتنا.
The Trump-Netanyahu plans for a new Gaza, one conveniently removed of all traces of Palestinians, had been noted by the people. But their response is not one the West will like.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it.
فكرة ترامب حاول يسيطر على غزة، مش هيقدر يسيطر على غزة طول ما احنا صامدين فيها، واحنا من عند أنا واحدة من الناس من عندي مش طالع منها خلص، ما ضلش يعني كتير، يا بنتحرر يا بنموت، واحد من الاتنين. ياتي هذا الإصرار للفلسطينيين والصمود من قوة الشخصية، من الأشياء اللي شفناها بحياتنا، من قوة الدين اللي عنا. احنا الإصرار عنا مش هنطلع من غزة ولا هنسيبها لليهود طول ما احنا عايشين.
Warda describes her present living conditions in shades that would not be out of place in a work of dystopian fiction. The people feel abandoned, with PTSD playing out in real time, but the survival instincts and desire for a new Gaza burn ever brighter.
الحياة حوالين الأنقاض صعبة جداً. الأطفال عنا بنضافوش، قد ما ننظف بالخيم من وراء الركام مش راضي يبين علينا النظافة بالمرة. بنحاول إحنا ننظف بس هذا الإشي عقدنا، عملنا عقدة نفسية. شفت الركام حوالين عيوننا. وبالنسبة لنقص الغذاء والأدوية والمية عنا هين في القطاع، أثر على كتير فينا، عمل نقص فيتامينات في الجسم. هلقيت إحنا دبنا قادرين نتحرك ونقوم أعمالنا اليومية. يعني سنتين زمان خلص بكون العمر اللي فينا الواحدة بيكون عمرها 30 سنة، بيكون عمرها بتشتغل عن أساس عمرها واحدة 60 سنة. تدبر أمورنا، الأكل من التكيات، وزعوا خضرة، إجت جمعية إجت مؤسسة. بندبر أمورنا، المية لما تيجي شحنية كل وين مرة، بنحاول نكون اقتصاديين في كب المية، منحاولش نبذر، وزي هيك ماشيين الحياة. العالم مش سائل فينا ولا مدور علينا، هو لو سائل فينا ومدور علينا كان من أول أسبوع الحرب خلصت وانتهت، بس ما حدش سائل فينا لا دول عربية ولا دول إسلامية. حتى الأزمة هذا حلها إلا بإرادة رب العالمين إنها تنتهي ووقوف كل الدول معنا، أما إحنا لحالنا مش حنخلصها إلا إذا بإرادة ربنا ينهيها هالأزمة اللي إحنا فيها. ترى هيك يفتحوا المعابر، يعملوا لنا نظام للحياة جديد، يعملوا لنا إعمار.
Warda has a vision for life to begin again, for hope and dreams to return. But first, there has to be a complete cessation of violence. The genocide has to end.
كنت أطمح بمستقبل قبل الحرب، مستقبل كتير لأولادي. كنت أقول حخليهم متعلمين، حخليهم أحلى التخصصات دارسين ومتفوقين في حياتهم، وأحلامهم اللي بدهم إياها حيقيقها. بس هلقيت بنضلش طموح، صار الولد الصغير نبعته على التكية من أول النهار لآخر النهار عشان يجيب صحن طبيخ ولا دور المية. حياتهم صارت بين دور المية وبين التعباية في التكية، أما ما ضلش في طموح. ما أعتقدش إنه ضل عنا طموح، الطموح مات. أما إذا بنفكر نرجع الطموح اللي عنا غير بتنتهي الحرب، حياتنا بتتحسن أحسن من هيك ويوفروا لنا كل إشي في القطاع، ممكن نرجع للطموح تاني.
It's important that Palestinians speak for themselves, that their messages are transmitted in their own voices. To this end, Warda wants to leave us with her final thoughts.
رسالتي للعالم أقفوا كلكم معنا ضد إسرائيل وكلهيتنا نكون إيد واحدة ونهاجم كلهيتنا مع بعض حتى تنتهي الحرب. بالنسبة لي بدي صوتي يصل للعالم والدنيا كلها ويشوفوا المعاناة اللي إحنا بنعيشها وإنه إحنا رغم المعاناة يعني بنحاول نتعايش مع هذا الوضع وإن شاء الله هيك صبرنا يكون له أجر يكون نهاية حلوة وخاتمتها حلوة وهيك بتحرير البلاد.
Joining me in the studio today to discuss Warda's story is political analyst, journalist, and the host of the Deep Dive Perspective podcast, Syed Mohsin Abbas. Welcome, Syed Mohsin.
Thank you.
Syed Mohsin, we've just heard, the Zionist entity has announced further expansion into Gaza. They basically are talking of taking away, the whole of Gaza. But you heard Warda there. They're not going anywhere. It's either liberation or death. It scares me to ask this, but what are we yet to witness?
Well, there's a commitment at the heart of the Jewish supremacist movement within Israel, which is supported by 90% of Israelis, to basically wipe out Gaza. That's been their intention from day dot. They've said it time and time again, and they are steadily progressing towards that end. And the reality is they've committed full 360-degree spectrum, full spectrum annihilation, kind of imperialism and killing on steroids really has been their philosophy, and they don't intend to change. As far as I can see, depopulation, ethnic cleansing, apartheid, wiping out of the entire Palestinian population from that region is still their main intention. And what's happened as a result of this, the only positives to come out of this, if you can look at it from that point of view, is that the myth of, for instance, Western democracies and their institutions, the myth that they were for human rights, that they were for equality, that they were for democracy, and all those things that we keep getting rammed down our throats, that's completely been destroyed, because everybody from the United Nations through to the World Bank, through to the WHO, the IAEA, all of them have been complicit in failing to sanction Israel. They failed to pin them down with any kind of regulations. They've not done anything to mobilize aid in a proper way. And there's been no threat given to Israel of any kind to make it come to heel.
International law basically has proven to be completely toothless, yeah?
Basically.
Yeah. But the issue is, all these women, Warda is one of them who says, I'm not going to leave. They can kill me. I'm not going to leave. But it's not just her. We've been hearing in the news lately that a lot of these Gazans are saying initially we left when we were told, go there is a safe zone. They don't believe any of it. So now they're not going to move. What scares me is what kind of images are going to be there. We were talking earlier about desensitization. The world has become so desensitized. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just to think about if these people don't leave and Zionists come in, what's going to happen?
Well, the intention on a broader scale, really, Sakina, is to create fear, demoralization, and actually literally control the Gazans. Now that has to be projected internationally, because this is also part of Agenda 2030, where there's a transhumanist movement in motion, which comes from the top, the WEF and the UN. They're all complicit in it. And their idea is basically to subjugate populations, to force them to do what they want, what the corporate elites want for the next 100 years or so. And they're trying to construct a world that will facilitate that. Now, the Gazans are just almost like one experiment for them to see how, 15-minute cities, how depopulation, how destroying families can work, how you can make people physically become subjugated. And it seems to me that Gaza, on the one hand, is being destroyed for the sake of Israel's greater Israel commitment, and for the Ben Gurion Canal, for the gas, which the Gazans also basically are the owners of. All of these are economic reasons why Gaza is being pummeled and why Warda is being targeted, but also this broader plan of testing how human beings will be controlled over the next 100 years. I think Palestine is literally an experiment for the parasite elitists who are engaged in triggering all of this.
And this is happening, Syed Mohsin Abbas, with the rest of the world not able to stop any of this happening. And Warda says, you know, she's very matter of fact in the way she says nobody cares about us. You know, I mean, so even those of us who do care, it doesn't really mean much to them, does it? Because the bombs are not stopping, the massacre is not stopping.
It means nothing to those who are facing the actual tyranny head-on in the physical sense, but in the global sense, standing up to that tyranny, the rise in the number of people who are waking up, the people who have woken up are really committed. They're out on the streets regularly across the world. There is a real disgust with the regimes and the governments who are complicit with this. There's a mistrust of authority and establishment, which is, I think, definitely there now. Of course, that stands against those of us who are drugged by materialism and have got ideologies which are all about ourselves, and the neoliberal focus on the self, on ego, and on what individualism, of course, has done that. And we are brainwashed. There's a lot of that brainwashing that's gone on. Gaza is a wake-up call for all of us. It's saying, look, where is our humanity? Where's our sense of what normal is? Because if the new normal is that it's okay to commit infanticide and ecocide and genocide and edgicide, or whatever other sides you want to put into the equation, they've all been done there. And if people don't wake up to this reality that this could be brought to their neighborhoods at any time with all of the new AI and the robotics and all the kind of new technologies that their surveillance capitalism needs to control us, facial recognition, all of these things in the hands of such parasites and such people as those who are in Israel. I mean, it's not just Israelis. Look, America has been absolutely a participant. Britain has absolutely been a participant in this genocide. Our leaders, whether it's Starmer, whether it's Trump, or it was Biden, they have all done exactly what Netanyahu has wanted, and they've been happily doing it, and they continue to do it.
And of course, like you say, you know, the fact that they are complicit in this means even we are the target. So it's not just the Palestinians. Unfortunately, there's a lot of disconnects among people here, you know, thinking that this does not affect us, but this will come back to us. Now, just to remind our viewers, you know, you are watching Women of Resistance, a very special series where we highlight the plight of those who are being subjected to a genocide in Gaza. Syed Mohsin Abbas, Warda says something that really touched me. She says, women have aged so much in these 2 years. You know, a woman of 30 feels like she's 60. Because of the lack of food, they are so weak, they can't even walk about and do their daily chores. How has this barbarism been allowed to happen, said Mohsin Abbas? How do we treat women, human beings like this?
Well, I remember with Mahsa Amini, there was a huge movement by the West itself to say that we love women so much that we want them to be free in Iran. I don't see the same voices. I don't see the feminist movements. I don't see the Western governments shouting for those Palestinian women who are being killed and murdered and maimed every day. Look, 40% of those who've been killed have been children within this genocide. Women are not far behind in terms of those percentage figures. How is it that our, supposedly civilized societies, civilized nations have made it so easy for us to stand by and watch this kind of genocide targeting women particularly? I think that the myth of, supporting women's rights, for instance, has been totally destroyed here in terms of Western credibility on that. And the people should think about that.
Yeah, Western feminists, where are they?
Yeah, I don't see any protests. I mean, I see the protests which are going on to stop the genocide, but you'd have thought that everybody from the LGBT communities or the kind of the women's rights movements, where are all these movements? Where's the trades union movements? Where are the sanctions on Israel? Where are their demands for strikes in these nations? We could do a lot more. We haven't done enough. enough, not as a people, and we haven't done enough certainly as nations, but we have to understand that the Zionists have infiltrated virtually every one of these establishments. It's been proven time and time again. Professor Miller has done a lot of work around this, and it's all now in public knowledge that the Zionists basically are infiltrating not only the media in the West, but they've also got control of most of the politicians, and they're doing this very, very openly now.
Absolutely.
And that means that the people are powerless, your democracy is a waste of time, and we need to really have a look at what kind of society we are now, because Gaza can come to our neighborhoods at any time.
Absolutely. And, the intimidation is so real and so consistent for those of us who dare to speak up. Going back to Gaza, Syed Mohsin Abbas, Warda talks about the children of Gaza. Now, like you mentioned, the most targeted group of people are the children of Gaza. I mean, we've seen reports about how they are shot on the head, specifically targeted, starving to death, the deaths from starvation. Now they are queuing up for food and water, and there is no ambition. She says there is no ambition left for these children because their education has stopped. Is this another way of targeting the future of Palestinians?
Absolutely. Ethnic cleansing comes in different ways. Destroying the will of a people comes in all sorts of evil methodologies. This is one of them. The reality is that 10,000 Palestinian children on paper have been killed. These are confirmed. The unconfirmed kills are those children who are buried alive, many of them perhaps under that rubble, those who have died because of malnutrition, because of disease, because of all the famine, because of all of the kind of other terrorism which Israel has implemented. Those figures aren't on record. The reality, I believe that the figures are closer to 250,000, the actual genocide that's taken place, because they're not figures that are directly being included. And it's come up in some reports where that is actually a reality. So there are probably triple that number of kids, if not more. That is unacceptable on a level which I can't even imagine, because before Gaza happened, of course, kids were being killed, but this targeting hasn't happened accidentally. Israel has the most sophisticated AI systems in the world at its disposal. It has used Lavender and other AI mechanisms to specifically target families when they get together for dinner at night. And as far as these Israelis are concerned, this is Amalek. These are people who are not even human beings. And so for them, killing children and killing women is just par for the course. They've malnutrized them. The number of amputations of children. I think there are something like over 1,000 amputations of children's legs. And the kind of long-term mental problems that these children will have, the long-term medical issues that they are going to have is unspeakable. And these amputations have taken place without anesthetic in many cases because they've stopped the medical aid going. This is really uncivilized barbarism on a scale unprecedented in my lifetime. We can go back to the eras of Cambodia where genocides took place, but they weren't televised or visualized in the way this is. This is on that level, to be fair,
Absolutely.
and it needs to be stopped.
No, totally. And I think, it's so satanic, the whole concept of how you, target those who are the most vulnerable, of the society. And, we can only really pray, but it's with fear, that I don't know what is going to happen next in Gaza. But for today, thank you so much to my guest, Syed Mohsin Abbas. Really appreciate you being with us. And thank you for watching. We leave you with the sounds of Palestine by the artist Saif. Goodbye.